For over a decade, Daniel Ayres believed he had everything a man could ask for. A stable job with the city's water department, a modest home tucked into a quiet suburb of Cincinnati, and a family that made it all worthwhile. His wife, Rebecca, was kind-hearted, fiercely intelligent, and the type of woman who remembered birthdays, packed lunch with notes, and held everything together when life felt chaotic. Then there was Maya, their 11-year-old daughter. Maya was the light of Daniel's life. She had inherited her mother's deep brown eyes and Daniel's crooked smile. She was bright, sensitive, and endlessly curious, forever drawing pictures in the margins of her homework or asking questions about how the world worked. On weekends, she would curl up next to Daniel on the couch, their feet tangled in a blanket as they watched old cartoons or baked cinnamon rolls from scratch. To Daniel, this was happiness. This was home. But peace is a fragile thing. It doesn't announce when it's leaving. It just slips out the back door, leaving silence in its place. It started with a doctor's appointment. Maya had complained of fatigue and dizziness. Nothing alarming, just enough to make Rebecca schedule a routine checkup. Tests were ordered, vitals taken, but then something strange emerged. Maya's blood type was AB negative, rare, but not unheard of. The issue? Neither Daniel nor Rebecca had a compatible type to produce a child with AB negative blood. At first, the doctor hinted at a clerical error. But then, with a quiet pause and a glance that lasted too long, he gently suggested a DNA test. Just to be thorough, he had said, to rule out any anomalies. Daniel and Rebecca agreed. Why wouldn't they? The results came back 2 weeks later, and in that moment, Daniel's world collapsed. Maya wasn't his daughter. The words on the paper blurred as rage set in. Disbelief turned to fury. His mind spiraled, playing back memories with new, twisted meanings. Had Rebecca cheated? Had she lied every single day for 11 years? Every hug, every "I love you, Dad" from Maya, was it all a lie? He didn't ask questions. He didn't wait for answers. He erupted. That night, he threw Rebecca out of the house. No conversation, no explanation. He changed the locks, filed for divorce, and told anyone who would listen. Family, friends, neighbors, co-workers. Rebecca, in his eyes, was a traitor, a deceiver. She had broken the sacred trust that built their home. Rebecca pleaded with him. Through tears, she swore on everything she held dear that she had never been unfaithful. But Daniel's pain deafened him. In his eyes, innocence had no place beside betrayal. The months that followed were a slow-motion collapse. Maya, caught between two fractured parents, became quiet, withdrawn. Her grades dropped. The light in her eyes dimmed. Rebecca's life unraveled. Friends distanced themselves. Whispers followed her in grocery aisles, and the shame she carried wasn't hers to own. Meanwhile, Daniel turned his heartbreak into obsession. The betrayal festered inside him like a wound that wouldn't close. He hired private investigators, demanded old hospital records, replayed the timeline over and over in his mind, searching for something, anything, that would give him peace. Then, nearly 2 years later, a whisper found him. A former intern at the hospital, now a registered nurse, reached out quietly, hesitantly. She remembered a night, 11 years ago, when a newborn was quietly swapped in the maternity wing. She didn't know the full story, but something about it had never sat right with her. And now, hearing about Daniel's crusade for the truth, she couldn't stay silent. That was the crack that broke the dam. A full investigation was reopened. Hospital logs were pulled, birth records examined, witnesses tracked down. What they uncovered sent shockwaves through the community. The truth was worse than Daniel had ever imagined. A midwife, now long retired, had taken a bribe from a wealthy couple desperate for a male heir. Their own child had been a girl. Desperate to maintain family legacy, they paid the midwife to make the problem disappear. Quietly, illegally, she swapped the babies. Rebecca had given birth to a healthy baby boy, but that boy was given to another family. In his place, they handed her Maya, a beautiful baby girl, born just minutes earlier to another woman down the hall. The midwife falsified documents, adjusted birth records, silenced nurses. She lived with the secret for over a decade, until technology and one man's desperation finally uncovered it. The court case was public and brutal. The midwife was arrested and sentenced. Headlines screamed of the deception, the stolen lives. Daniel sat in the courtroom, hands trembling, as the truth unraveled in front of the world. And for the first time in 2 years, he truly saw Rebecca, not as the villain his grief painted, but as the woman who had carried a child that wasn't hers, loved her fiercely, and had her life torn apart for something she didn't do. He tried to apologize. Words fumbled from his lips. He broke down in tears outside the courthouse. Rebecca stood there, quiet, worn. Her eyes were red, but no longer weeping. "I was wrong," Daniel said, voice cracking. "I should have trusted you. I let my pain destroy everything." Rebecca's response was quiet, calm, but her words cut deeper than any anger. "I know," she said, "but trust, once shattered, doesn't come back so easily. I need time, Daniel, to heal, not just from what happened, but from the fact that you didn't believe in me when it mattered most." Daniel nodded, tears flowing freely now. He had destroyed something precious. And though the truth had finally been revealed, the cost was something he'd carry for the rest of his life. The judge ruled that Maya would temporarily live with her biological parents, while the family worked with counselors to help her adjust. The courtroom was nearly empty as she stepped toward the door, her small hand gripped in that of a woman she barely knew. But before she crossed the threshold, Maya stopped. She turned back, eyes glassy, voice trembling. "You're still my dad," she said to Daniel. She turned to Rebecca and added, crying softly, "And you'll always be my mom. I love you both." The room was silent, the kind of silence that aches in your chest. Daniel gasped, covering his mouth, a sob catching in his throat. Rebecca's shoulders shook. Even the bailiff looked away, pretending not to wipe his eyes. And then, just like that, the child who had once made them a family walked out of the courtroom, leaving behind two people bound not by DNA, but by heartbreak, and by a love that, even through devastation, had never stopped being real.